you guys? My name is Steph and I want to welcome you to my channel. I'm sorry. I want to start by saying so many things. First of all, I'm really sorry that I've taken forever to start filming our Halloween spooky season series. I really have tried to squeeze in the time and I just haven't had the time. And today I am somewhere completely different and I'm alone. So I figured that this would be the perfect moment to start the series so we can get the ball rolling. Secondly, I do want to say, you guys, we have hit 1,000 subscribers and there are no words in this world to express how grateful I am that you guys find me entertaining, that you guys feel that you can relate to me, that you guys have subscribed to, you know, follow along on this journey. And I love hearing from you guys. I love when you guys comment. I try to respond to all of them. I love when you guys write to me on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, please do. I will leave it right here. Follow me on Instagram. I love you guys so much, and honestly, I'm just grateful. And a giveaway will be coming soon. I promise. I'm gonna be looking down a lot because I am gonna be reading a few things. Also, wow, we're covering a lot in this video. You're gonna see that I'm gonna wear this shirt in this video and possibly another one. I'm trying to squeeze as many in as possible, especially taking advantage that I'm somewhere alone. The lighting may not be that great, a lot may not be that great, but I will tell you that I'm so happy that I'm not home saying these stories now that we've got that big chunk out of the way. I do want to let you guys know that I have set up an email. I will leave it right here, and I will of course leave it in the description down below. If you guys have any scary stories that you guys would like to share with me and would like to be featured on an upcoming video, please do share it down below. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you guys enjoy the series, let me know. Write in the email, write down the comments below. Let me know if you want this to be an ongoing thing. So yeah, you guys, I'm gonna be looking down, like I said, because I do have my iPad here. I'm gonna slant it a little bit, and I'm gonna read a few stuff. Today's video we're gonna be talking about, I'm so glad I'm not doing this at home. Today we're gonna be talking about La Llorona. So I know there are so many videos of her. The encounters that I read on Reddit, the encounters that people have told me are beyond scary. This legend, I want to believe it's Mexican, but I don't know, because like homegirl, she just be going all throughout, like Mexico, Honduras, like she just be going all around the world. I've even heard of some people seeing her here. So homegirl's like international. I think the first one I ever heard was that it was this beautiful girl who had 2 children. She ended up falling in love with this man who was so beautiful as well, and he told her that he could not marry a woman with children, so she went ahead and drowned her kids. And yeah, like ever since, it is said so many times that her access to heaven has been denied until she finds the soul of her 2 children. So that's why she's always roaming around here, like doing that scary cry. Child, I can't even imagine like listening to that. Could you? I don't know. So there's a lot of variety of them, but it does not matter what story you're hearing, they always end the same. She ends up drowning her children. So I am gonna go ahead and read to you this little paragraph that I found that says what the origin of La Llorona is. But of course, we've all heard our own stories, and like I said, she's here for one reason. She's searching for her 2 children. The legend has a wide variety of details and versions. In a typical version of the legend, a beautiful woman named Xochitl, wow, she even has a name, okay, marries a rich ranchero / conquistador with whom she bears 2 children. One day, Xochitl sees her husband with another woman, and in a fit of a blind rage, she drowns their children in a river, which she immediately regrets. Unable to save them and consumed by guilt, she drowns herself as well, but is unable to enter the afterlife. You see? Forced to be in a purgatory and roam this earth until she finds her children. In another version of the story, her children are illegitimate and she drowns them so that their father cannot take them away to be raised by his new wife. Reoccurring themes and variations of La Llorona myth include a white dress, nocturnal wailing. I mean, I'm literally gonna definitely include a sound bit because that shit is petrifying. That is petrifying. One thing I have been told so many times is if you ever hear her and she sounds close, that means she's actually really far away, and if you hear her far, that means she's really, really close. So yeah, I do want to tell you guys that there was this one day, I go through these phases in and out, especially when I was younger, where I would obsess. So like there was a point where I was obsessing with El Duende, so I would research stories of El Duende. This is after I had my experience. There was a point when I was obsessed with witches, so I would do, I would research stories of witches and so on and so forth. But I remember there was this one specific time, and this wasn't that long ago, where I was obsessed with La Llorona. I did not do research with her when it comes to her because I do not want to see this woman anywhere. Watch me see her tonight. I do not ever want to have an encounter with this woman. Like, keep it moving, sweetie. Girl. Anyways, so there was a point that I was obsessed with her, and I remember that my mom was on the phone with my aunt in Honduras, and in Honduras, my grandpa had a house in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So all his siblings, they live in this little town that is really in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing there. Nothing. It's like houses and rocks and dirt, and that's pretty much it. Like, to get to the nearest centro comercial, like, to go grocery shopping and all that, I would say it's about a 30-40 minute drive. So they're in the middle of nowhere. I was on the phone with my mom, and I grab the phone and I say hi to her, and I tell her, like, oh tia, my mom is not a big believer in legends, or my mom is a scared wimp. That's what it is. So I do believe that my mom does believe, but she doesn't like talking about it. So anyways, I'm on the phone with my aunt, and I'm like, oh, tia, have you ever heard La Llorona? Bro, and casual as day, she goes, yeah, the other night the dogs were barking because they have like those little outside dogs. The dogs were going insane, and we were kind of scared because it was really late, all the lights were off, there was no one outside, but the dogs were going insane. And then you could hear her wails, and I was like, I remember I was just like, what the fuck? She's like, yeah, like we could hear her wails, like, ay, mis hijos. And she's like, yo, and she sounded like she was literally right by the door looking for them. It was so scary. But the thing is, my aunt said it so casual, like, oh, it was so scary. But yeah. What? My aunt's telling me the story. My mom's like, stop asking stupid questions. She just wants to scare you. My grandpa has told me countless stories of her. A lot of the encounters with her can really shake me to the core. It really does scare me. There's something there's this like feeling of, I don't know how to explain it. I'm gonna read these stories now that I've told you all about my aunt and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead and read these stories that I found that are spooky ooky about encounters of La Llorona. I found these stories on nightmarishconjurings.com. I'm gonna leave the links down below so you guys can go ahead and check out, because there was a bunch of like encounters, but I only picked these, and yeah, I hope you guys like them. This is by Sabina Lisette Graves, and it says, my earliest recollection of La Leyenda La Llorona being more than a scary story my older cousin would tell when I was little was when I visited the home of my grandparents in Mexico City. My abuela told me that they lived by where the river was, and that if you walked around there at night, you could hear her, and that on some nights she would wander through the neighborhood looking for children to take, wailing, ay, mis hijos. I'm not mocking you. Please do not come looking for me. I remember not being able to sleep and hearing the sounds of a river and dripping footsteps and a woman voice crying out for her children in the hallway that night as I hid under the covers so I wouldn't be taken. Even when I went back home, I didn't forget that. She was a wandering spirit, and I don't doubt for a second that she can follow anyone who knows her story. Oh my god. Or who she's tried to take, or who stupidly seeks her out. I'm not seeking this woman out, and neither are you. So please, please, don't be like, oh my god, I was watching your video and all of a sudden she showed up at my door. Like, no. I'm not seeking her out. You're not seeking her out. I'm not seeking you out. That's actually really scary because earlier on we were just making fun of the fact that homegirl is in Mexico and Honduras and she comes to the United States, and that scares me. The second story is from a journalist named Angie Coronado, and her experience goes, growing up as a first generation Mexican American, I would get my good share of leyendas urbanas mexicanas or Mexican urban legends to keep my sibling and me in check. Oh my god, yeah, I totally remember that. Growing up in a Hispanic home, you know, like, they would be like, behave good or el chupacabra is gonna come and get you. So yeah, 1000%. La Llorona is the one that I personally still believe in, especially since my dad swears he saw her while growing up in Mexico. His experience goes as follows. One night, my dad, age 9, joined his uncle, age 15, to buy some things from the convenience store. He remembers it was close to midnight since they were rushing to get to the store before it closed at that time. Once they got their things, they started to hurry home before the night fog got thicker. Casually talking and making their way down the street, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of them. My phone just started ringing and I got scared. I'm scared. You guys cannot say I don't love you. The things that I do for you. I'm a wimp. I'm scared. Casually talking and making their way down the street, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of them almost out of nowhere. My dad described her as having long, messy hair with light tattered clothes and pale, bony hands that met each other near her chest. Her eyes were dark and sunken in. He doesn't remember if she saw them or not, but they didn't stop to find out. As soon as they both passed her, they made a run for it. As they ran, scared out of their minds, my dad exclaimed to his uncle how tall she was. He replied saying that she wasn't tall at all. She was floating a few feet off the ground. Hell no. After running about a mile back home, my grandpa was up waiting for them. When they both oh my god, I'm getting like this, I'm scared. When they both finished grasping for air, they frantically explained to my grandpa what they saw. He shook his head and shrugged. Por traviesos, for being troublemakers. My dad believes he saw her, the infamous Llorona. I believe he saw something, regardless if it was her or not, but from the way he describes her and how the legend of La Llorona goes, I believe my dad was spared that night. Fuck. Oh my god. Sorry that I'm cursing. That's insane. Before we get into the final story, I will tell you, there was this one time I went to Honduras, and when we were coming back, we were at the airport waiting to come back to Miami. I was having this conversation with my grandpa. If you guys like how I say stories, I just believe that my dad was an amazing storyteller and my grandpa. And I remember that we were having this conversation because I've always been into the paranormal, because I was always followed since I was a little kid, and that's like a whole different story for another day. But I always believed in it, and my mom was very closed off and she was like, no, that's not real, it does not exist. So I felt really alone. Like, I wouldn't talk about my experiences with anyone. I was so little that like I couldn't go and tell my friends that, because I just didn't think they were gonna believe me. And how are like a bunch of 6-year-olds gonna be talking about these things? I always grew up like keeping those experiences to myself. So when we were at the airport, I was around 13 years old, and my grandpa had told me that I was telling him all the experience that I had been having, and he's like, I think it's dumb if people were to think that we are the only beings on this planet. There has to be a little bit of everything. There has to be aliens. There has to be spirits wandering around, ghosts, demons, all those things. All that exists. They're really dumb to think if it's just us here. And it made sense. And I feel like that's why, I don't know if you guys have seen those TikToks that are like, say something that you feel like if you say it out loud, people would think you're crazy. And people will say these crazy stories like about past life, like now I'm going off subject, but past life, encounters with aliens, all those things, take it with a grain of salt, yeah, but I believe in it because, bro, like The world isn't just black and white. There's more out there than we know. So anyways, that time when I was at the airport with my grandpa, like that advice really stuck to me. My grandpa has seen her, okay? My grandpa has seen her countless times, but I remember one time the story he told me at the airport was, so in Honduras, especially back then, they used to get around on horses, and my grandpa, they live in the middle of nowhere. My grandpa had a farm. He had cows, he had chickens, he had horses, he had pigs. They had every animal you could think of. My grandpa used to get around on a horse, and I remember he had the family. He had like the male, the female, and their pony. Anyways, my grandpa used to love going out to drink on Friday nights, and he would drink and drink and drink. And he says that one night on his one Friday night, like on this drunken trip, he's making his way back home. And obviously it's in the middle of nowhere, so, you know, there's a lot of trees. He says he's like riding the horse, and the horse is giving him a hard time. And you know, they're really sensitive. Horses are super sensitive. My grandpa says he looks up and she's hanging on a tree like a damn monkey. Okay, I'm not even making this up. And he says that he like keeps riding. He acts like he doesn't see her, and she climbs on the back of his horse. From her hanging on the tree, the horse passes by, and right when like I'm guessing, horse passes by, my grandpa sitting here, she waited for that moment and whoop, just sat right on the horse. And he said that he was petrified, like she smelled really good, which is what was eerie. And he kept riding. He was like, do not pay it any mind, do not do anything. And he felt when she got off his horse, he felt that, and he was like, I'm not gonna look back, let's go. And the horse is like running at this point. He could hear her from the end of the freaking trail that my grandpa was going, laughing her head off. And he was like, it is the most evil, scary laugh I've ever heard in my life. Let me tell you, I did not sleep when I came back from that trip. That was insane. That story scares me to the core. I know it's very short, but like, I cannot imagine. First of all, like, I'm scared of you. Now you're also gonna invade my space and be on my ride and not even pay me? Ciao. The nerve. And then laugh? If you don't freaking find an Uber. My grandfather's story about La Llorona, I feel like I'm saying her name so much today. Girl, I am not looking for you. And now we're gonna jump into the very last story that I have, and this one is by Melissa Arlene Camacho. She is a San Diego based artist. So again, I'm gonna leave the website down in the description box where you can find all these stories, because there was a lot of them. So Melissa says, growing up in Mexico and now residing in the United States since 1991, it's near impossible to not have heard the story of La Llorona as a very young child. Many have different stories of who she is or was, if she was real or not. One origin story says she was inspired by famous Nahua women, I believe that's how you say it, known as La Malinche in the 1500s during the Spanish conquistador days. She was Hernan Cortés' interpreter and lover who gave birth to his bastard children, only to have been left by him to marry a noble Spanish lady. Oh my god, I have heard this story too. The other story I heard was the more traditional one of a local woman drowning her children, then herself, after her husband left her for a younger woman. I've heard that one too. She was denied entrance to heaven until she was able to find her children and bring them with her. Whether you believe in her or not, here's a personal story I've rarely shared with anyone at all. All of it is true as I describe it below. Okay, girl. As a child of 8 years old, my family was very trusting of me and allowed me to play outside with my friends, but always wanted to make sure I was back home inside before nightfall. They told me if I wasn't inside by sundown, I'd run the risk of running into La Llorona. I listened most of the times, but sometimes those street soccer matches with friends would be too good to stop, but I always managed to get back just in time. However, as many young boys often do, I tested the boundaries of my family's request on a particular night. Having discovered an empty, weeded, dirt-filled lot about 2 blocks from Having discovered an empty, weeded, dirt-filled lot about 2 blocks from my house, my friends and I, of course, played longer than we were allowed to. The match ended at sundown, and by the time the adrenaline and excitement had settled, my friend Lupe and I found ourselves alone to walk back in the now silent, empty field. I remember telling him that we should leave as it is now much later than we were allowed to be out. The wind and soft night creature noises were the only sound that we had as we made our way out of the lot. Now, call it a combination of fear, being in trouble, coupled with your brain suddenly reminding you what lurks in the middle of the night while you should be safe at home. But my friend and I started to panic a bit. Then, as if in a bad dream, a particularly strong wind filled the lot. It was deafening and ear-piercing, but when it reached us, it transformed into what my friend and I swore was wailing, as if someone or something was mourning. We looked at each other, and I'd never seen Lupe so pale in my life. Without missing a beat, we started running as fast as we could. We didn't stop nor look behind us, yet we felt that cold wind and energy as if it was just steps behind us, like heavy breathing at the back of our necks. My heart felt as if it was going to beat out of my chest. We didn't stop until we ran into my grandmother, Luciana, on the street. She was out looking for us and not particularly happy about it. I'd never been so happy to see her in my then short years of life. She escorted my friend home, and then we walked back to our house. I was in trouble, of course, but was never happier to be grounded inside the safety of my house. Lupe and I talked about it at school with other friends for weeks to come. Some believed us and others laughed at us, but we knew that whatever we experienced that night was real to us and would be an experience that would bond us for life and we wouldn't soon forget. Whether you believe in La Llorona or not, may it be fact or fiction, I feel it's best to respect the energy of what's around us and not test the powers of the unknown. You may not want to face what you might find. It goes back to what I was telling you, what my grandpa told me. We'd be really dumb if we just thought that it's just you and I on this planet, and there is no such thing as, everything that I mentioned earlier. These stories are scary. Again, I rebuke any evil energies that may be surrounding this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed these stories. As I mentioned earlier, I do have an email where you guys are able to write in and share your experiences if you would love to be featured in a future video. Yeah, you guys, that is the end of this video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.